Hey everyone, Ray here. It's finally the time of the year that we meet the new Sony Xperia 1 Mark VIII, the 8th generation of the 1 series. For the first time ever in 7 years' time, we've finally got a total redesign to the phone here. It now sort of looks and feels completely different than before, but at the same time they've actually brought back quite a few classic Xperia design elements here. We're not talking about the 3.5mm headphone jack and the microSD card slot. Now, in terms of the hardware upgrade, we've got a better, newer processor and a much better camera. Now, for phones from other brands, we might call that a boring upgrade, but here on a Sony phone, it can actually be a meaningful one, especially if you're coming from an older generation of Xperia phones, particularly throughout the 1 Mark III, 4 and 5 generations. The Snapdragon 80 Elite Gen 5 here, that's based on TSMC's 3rd generation 3nm manufacturing process, together with a newer, larger vapor chamber design that solves everything. Now the camera, they've opted for a 1/1.56-inch sensor for the telephoto camera once and for all. Now Sony is not chasing the 200 megapixels game here, it's a 50 megapixels one, but that also means larger pixel size. That usually means better color depth and more natural light rendering. And if we compare that to the last generation of Xperia phone, that's a whopping 4 times larger sensor size that captures way more light. I've taken it out for a thorough camera test from daytime, portrait, all the way to low light. We'll definitely be coming back to this in a minute. Right, the design. The silver one here is safe and bright, and it comes in a slightly cooler tone with a slightly bluish hue to it. It actually reminds me of a much older generation of Xperia phone, the XZ1, which came out back in 2017. Just look at how thin and light phones were. Right, the 3.5mm headphone jack, the SIM tray 2-free, microSD card slot and SIM tray. The bezel's now much thinner, but the dual front-facing speakers still here. The 2-steps camera shutter buttons also here, that won't be pressed or swiped accidentally, and it definitely feels solid in hand. The side-mounted fingerprint sensor, which doubles as the power buttons, also here. Now what I really find interesting is the Xperia logo here on the back of the Xperia XZ1. It's definitely a classic Sony design element, but if I'm not wrong, the XZ1 should be the last one to have a laser-engraved logo on the phone. It's made a comeback after 10 years' time. I definitely thought that was the soul of the phone back in the days. The red colors also made a comeback. As you can see here, is a more subtle, refined shade of red. While IP68 water and dust resistance, we can take that for granted, but the curved display is gone for good. Now, if you like a bolder, louder color, the gold one's here for you, apart from just the red. It's not their first time to have a gold-colored phone. Now look at the Z5 series, the Z5 Premium. The mirror on the back was definitely my all-time favorite. Now the gold one here, the glass back and the metal frame, they're calling it Aura design, which was inspired by natural gemstone. It feels more like a unibody, one-piece gemstone. And finally, here you have the black one, low profile, stylish. Meanwhile, the purple one's not making a return this year. Based on their past record, they usually launch a purple-colored phone in every 3 to 4 years. Alright, the hardware, which matters most. First and foremost, the display. The bezel is now reduced to just a few millimeters, but it's still there on both the top and the bottom side. In return, you'll be getting a dual front-facing speaker setup. This time around, they've enriched the low-end frequencies and the volume in general. Speaking of audio quality, we definitely cannot skip Sony's upscaling technology, DSE Ultimate. Now, assuming you're already familiar with it, I'll keep it short. It's basically upscaling lossy file to close to high-res audio quality. The ultimate version of this technology utilizes AI to further enhance the clarity and the depth of the music. It should be even closer to the original lossless file. If you still believe in wired headphones for true lossless experience, the 1 Mark VIII should be delivering the absolute best audio quality out there. And the display, right, Sony's taken away 4K resolution since the 6th generation of the Xperia 1 series. Now it's a Full HD one. Would you prefer a brighter screen or a display with 4K resolution on a smartphone? Do let me know. In my opinion, a brighter screen is always more practical than having a 4K screen on a smartphone. But having both would definitely be ideal. Now, inside the image quality settings, what's unique here, the creator mode, it actually reproduces colors more similarly to the master monitor from Sony, with D65 white balance and displaying the BT2020 color gamut. Now, in terms of the screen brightness in real life, I must say after progressive improvement over the years, the Sony now looks bright and clear even under direct sunlight. I've actually put it under a lux meter for a measurable comparison. Believe it or not, the entire display here on the Sony can actually go all the way up to 2400 nits compared to 2000 nits here on the Samsung. From this perspective, it might be worth it trading 4K resolution for a much brighter display. Now, I must say that again, 2000 nits is more than enough even under broad daylight. And as for performance and thermal management, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 Air features the third generation of 3nm TSMC process, which is even more refined, and Sony is backing it up with an even larger liquid cooling system. Real-world performance, looking at the CPU multi-core scores here, is basically on a par with other current generation flagships, nothing to worry about. Thus the peak performance within a few minutes, and right here we've also run AnTuTu benchmark 4 times in a row. Each time it takes up to about 15 minutes. For 4 consecutive runs, it would be taking up roughly about an hour to finish. We can conclude thermal management and performance output is now reliable. Right here, I've actually put it under a thermal imaging camera. It stayed around 40 degrees Celsius, 40.7 degrees to be exact, after the 1 hour-long stress test. In fact, for 4K video recording, we've done a battery drain test previously with the VIII Mark 7. It stayed around 42 degrees Celsius after 1 hour of 4K video recording, which was really manageable. We'll certainly be doing the same test here with the VIII Mark 8 really soon. Alright, let's get right into the cameras. Now, the main, ultra-wide and telephoto lenses all feature 50 megapixels. The main lens actually features a 1/1.35-inch sensor. It's worth mentioning, however, it uses dual-layer transistor technology. As they've mentioned back then when it first came out, it actually gathers and takes light closer to a 1-inch sensor. The ultra-wide lens got a huge upgrade last year, now reaching 1/1.56 inch, which used to be the standard for a main camera. It's a 50 megapixels sensor, it's definitely one of the best even in today's standard. Now, the biggest highlight, the telephoto lens, it now features a 1/1.56 inch sensor. On one hand, it allows shorter exposure time, possibly in medium to moderate low light, not necessarily the harshest lighting. The larger sensor on the telephoto truly makes a difference here. For this particular shot, I was using the 2.9x telephoto lens. I can actually hit shutter speed of around 600th of a second. Even with limited light source, it effectively freezes the wings of a butterfly in mid-flight. Everything is sharp and in focus, that's the main point. If you look here closely, the butterfly is sharp, while the background's nicely blurred, while the butterfly is really sharp, it's definitely in focus. Based on my observation, it should be related to Sony's AI focusing system as well. As when we're shooting video, as we can see here, it perfectly tracks the subject's movement and it even locks onto my eyes. Now, if you're wondering, it's a 70mm telephoto lens with a fixed focal length this time around, with an f2.8 aperture. They've taken out the continuous zoom technology this time around. The good news is, it's a prime lens, so it naturally delivers really sharp images with top-notch texture rendering. The not so good news though, it's not zoomable like they used to be, though you can always do the 2x lossless zoom here with a 50 megapixels sensor thanks to pixel binning technology that reaches 140mm, which is 5.8x. They've taken away the 4cm super macro feature this time around as well, so the new lens can actually focus onto subjects that are 15 centimeters away from the phone. Not bad at all. According to Sony and my personal experience, thanks to the larger sensor, much larger sensor, 4 times larger than the previous generation, image quality is much better than before. The quality of the lens also remarkable, just look at how smooth the background is, and the bokeh is also creamy. Now, I must point out as well, image processing here on the Sony is more on the natural, realistic side, and they're not implementing AI zoom on their telephoto camera. But here, you'll be getting really natural and untouched images with remarkably accurate color reproduction and color depth. I also find the background blur effect here is really smooth. Sony is doing a really great job in delivering a high-quality lens. Now, on the other hand, in extreme challenging low-light situations combined with long exposure, with a larger sensor here, low-light performance is truly vastly improved. At the same time, it's worth mentioning as well, Sony is implementing raw multi-frame processing this time around. Shadows are well lit, and even in complex highlight, details are well preserved. You can still see the details of the architecture in the shadows area alongside with a really bright highlight. Take this shot for example as well. The highlights are well controlled, yet the shadows, noise control is doing great as well. At the same time, you can look at here again. Photos taken in extreme environment like this The highlights are now well controlled, while the shadows areas also pretty well lit. HDR here is absolutely doing a great job. Again, we're talking about the 70mm and 140mm range. We should be treating this phone more like a camera as long as we're shooting at the native focal length or the in-center zoom range. Image quality is absolutely stunning, while digital crop, that won't be doing any good here. I would say that's usable all the way up to 10x. More than that, you'll quickly notice the more you zoom in, the softer the images get. Actually, we can take a brief look here from the ultra-wide lens main lens, 2.9x, 5.8x, 10x, 17.5x, which is the maximum zoom range on this device. Now, Sony is actually pretty humble and is telling the truth here. 17.5x is what it will be delivering reasonably sharp images without the implementation of AI. Is it good or bad? In my opinion, it might lose some flexibility for being an all-round camera flagship, but at the same time, everything you'll be able to take from this phone would be untouched, natural, true to life, with really great color accuracy and color depth thanks to the larger sensor this time around. What they have used AI in photography and videography is here, bokeh video portrait mode, and this auto-framing feature is definitely worth checking out. It works like this. Right now I'm leaving the phone horizontally on a tripod. Normally it will be filming a video in landscape. Yes, it does here as well. But on top of that, it actually outputs a vertical 16:9 video as well. That's in Full HD, while the 4K 16:9 horizontal landscape video will be saved as well as a backup, so you'll be ending up having both. They have this feature on the One Mark 7 as well, but here on the One Mark 8 you'll be having support for all the ultra-wide main and telephoto, the 2.9 and 5.8x lens. Right, AI camera works something you might be interested in as well. Essentially, it combines action mode, super steady mode, sport mode, whatever they're calling it, while keeping your subject centered. There's a toggle for subject tracking which you can switch on and off. Basically, it gives you both stabilization and subject tracking ability. Right, portrait modes where they've shown progressive improvement over the years, that's definitely more software based. Now, 1x uses the main lens for sure. We have 2x that uses the main lens as well through in-center zoom. Now 2.9x, that's the new telephoto lens going all the way up to 5.8x. Right, background blur and subject separation. We have a wire fence on the right and plenty of trees and leaves behind me, a complex background. I think Sony's nailed it this time around. If not the absolute best, it's definitely one of the best. Especially here when I was using the telephoto lens and I was standing way further away from the phone. It's nearing sunset with limited light source. The larger sensor on the telephoto camera truly pays off. It's doing a great job in balancing the skin tone while retaining a decent amount of skin texture. You can also see the micro contrast on the skin tone and the clothing as well. The Sony phone might not be the absolute best for ultra long range zoom at the moment, though when it comes to color accuracy, natural skin tone, color depth and light contrast, Sony is doing a really great job here. Especially with the new telephoto lens, it can finally deliver high quality portrait photos in all lighting situations. Right, another AI feature is the new AI assistant here. As you can see on the main screen, whenever you're pointing the camera onto something, it will automatically suggest a filter, a color filter based on that scene using AI. It usually comes with more than one filters that you can pick from. Like here, we can quickly turn something like this to this, more like the cyberpunk tone. In some situations, I do find photos with the suggested filters applied do look more engaging, pleasing, dramatic, while here, based on the suggested filters, we can further adjust the brightness, warmth, tint, contrast, and saturation of that particular filter. even when I was drawing some of the most challenging and contrasty scenes to it. The 1/1.56-inch sensor on both the ultra-wide and the telephoto camera is absolutely plausible. The downside may be the lack of a toggleable AI mode for ultra-long-range zoom, limiting it to 17.5x is certainly a limitation. However, only if we count this as a downside. In general, HDR is doing its job, low light performance thanks to the larger sensor on all the 3 lenses as well as raw multi-frame processing. Noticeable, or in fact huge improvement, especially when it comes to the telephoto camera compared to past generations. So Sony isn't focusing much on ultra-long-range zoom, though what I really find surprising is color rendering, color depth, and how they render the lights and the contrast. The quality of the lens, the background blur effect, the optics itself is also one of the best I've seen on the market on the telephoto camera. Now, in terms of video recording, 4K 120 on all the 3 lenses is a pretty rare feature to have even in today's standard, and I'm pretty sure you will be benefiting from the larger sensor on the telephoto camera for high frame rate video recording. Unfortunately, Sony isn't allowing us to shoot RAW and log video. What we can do here is HDR. It actually uses the BT2020 color gamut. It actually matches pretty well with the HLG color gamut on larger Sony cameras. And if you're intending to shoot in BT709, the SDR gamut, they do have the Acinetone for mobile as a filter, as a color profile here. If you're shooting on the go and on the phone, the colors should be matching Sony's camera pretty well. Right, last but not least, AI features and the user interface. Again, it's more like both good and bad. On one side, it's closer to stock Android, which is really clean, but at the same time, you'll be ending up with next to none generative AI features built by Sony. Now, for photo editing, you can always rely on Google Photos, and Gemini will be doing the rest of the AI stuff here, which is not bad at all. All in all, a bright display, a great sounding pair of speakers, a much improved camera system, especially the telephoto camera, finally, performance and heat control of a modern-day current generation flagship 3.5mm headphone jack, microSD card slot, and a clean UI. Now, the 5000 mAh battery isn't astonishing on paper, though based on our previous record, the battery drain test, Sony is doing pretty well in optimizing their batteries. There's nothing to worry about in real-life battery life. Right, losing the 4K display sounds and looks depressing, though in my opinion, having a brighter display in real life is always more meaningful than having a small display with higher resolution. And ultimately, the price and the availability in global markets. Do let me know what's your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like these surrounding the Xperia 1 Mark 8 and other latest and greatest phones. See you all next time.